Back now to this breaking news that we have just started to cover, which is a plane crash in Washington, D.C. We have a little bit more information than we previously had just moments ago when I first brought you news of this crash. These are still preliminary reports, but this is a serious incident. What we believe has happened here, again, according to preliminary reports, is that there has been a collision between an American Airlines regional jet, so a passenger plane, that was flying into DCA, flying into Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C., the flight originated apparently in Wichita, Kansas. The collision was reportedly with a Black Hawk helicopter. And both the helicopter and the American Airlines regional jet are believed to be down in the Potomac River, where rescue operations are currently going on. Reagan National Airport is shut down because of this emergency right now. The Potomac River is very near to Reagan National Airport. These things are in very close proximity. But as you see here, there's a huge police, fire, EMS response. We're told that police fireboats are part of this operation, but they are trying to rescue people out of the Potomac, as far as we understand it right now. We have NBC News' Tom Costello on the phone now. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello. Tom, has anything I just said has the reporting gotten any further beyond what I just said, and is anything that I said inaccurate?
No, you're absolutely 100% accurate, at least as of this moment. No surprise. Reagan Airport is now shut down as we are dealing with a major emergency here right on the Potomac at Reagan National Airport. As you mentioned, this is apparently a regional jet coming in from Wichita, and a regional jet can carry anywhere from 50 to 100 people, depending on how crowded it is, how busy it is, and then a Black Hawk helicopter. Anybody who's been to Reagan Airport, you know that there is a lot of military type of helicopter activity right over the river, right across the river, because of course we've got the helicopter base that handles everything for the White House, for the president, and then you've got an awful lot of diplomatic type of helicopter traffic up and down the river. So exactly how this happened, how we have this apparent collision midair over the Potomac River, and at this moment, we have reports that both the plane and the chopper are, in fact, in the water. It is a massive response. Complicated. It has been complicated by the fact that we have had a very icy Potomac River because it was so cold here over the past week. And, Rachel, we had a horrific accident on one of the bridges last week between the district and Virginia where a truck went into the river. But because it was so covered in ice, the D.C. Fire Department's icebreaker ship is out of service. It's not even anywhere near D.C. right now. And as a result, that complicated the rescue efforts. I am hoping that the ice broke up enough over the last few days where we've had warmer temps, allowing these boats to get to the scene faster. That was a huge problem last week, and literally 2 people died, and the rescue response was delayed because of that lack of an icebreaker. As for this very moment, though, exactly how this happened, we simply don't know at this hour. As you know, right on the river, anybody who's come into Reagan National Airport knows you come right over the river, and you have to avoid that very sensitive airspace over Washington, D.C., for example, over the White House, over the National Mall, over the Capitol. That's all restricted airspace. And so that forces air traffic to come down, either down the river from north to south or from south to north. We don't, at this hour, know precisely how this particular flight was coming in, the regional jet, and we don't know exactly if it was too far out over the river, a lot of unanswered questions. And immediately, the concern is, are there people in the water who are alive? This is an all-out emergency of the highest order right now. I would also point out, for those who don't live in the D.C. area, there is a multi-agency mutual assist agreement on major incidents like this. So they're going to have not only, of course, the airport fire rescue teams, they're also going to have the D.C. Fire and Rescue. You're going to get Arlington and Alexandria from Virginia, probably even Montgomery County from Maryland, all responding in. This would be the highest priority, and you can imagine the mutual aid response is going to be, really of a high magnitude.
Tom, as we've been talking, we've been observing some of the comments, public comments that have been made, particularly by elected officials who represent Kansas. Again, we believe that this American Airlines regional jet this flight originated in Kansas, potentially in Wichita, Kansas. Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas has just posted online, learning that a plane inbound from Kansas was involved in a crash at DCA. He says, I am in contact with authorities. Please join me in praying for all involved. I mentioned that because it would seem to indicate at least be some collaboration, some corroboration of the idea that this jet was from Kansas in terms of where it started. Tom, let me just ask you what you were describing about the two aircraft that we believe were involved here, a Black Hawk helicopter, the American Airlines regional jet, which, as you note, is a jet of a size that can carry 50 to 100 people, generally speaking, categorically speaking. We have no idea how many people were involved, were on board that jet at this point.
Yeah.
Is air traffic control at DCA more complex than it would be at other airports of that size because of the confluence of military and diplomatic travel, the involvement of things like Black Hawk helicopters, along with commercial and private air?
I think that's accurate. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think, and we've also had a series of close calls here at Reagan Airport over the last couple of years in which planes got way too close to each other and had to wave off. And can I just draw your attention to the fact that we are just now getting an FAA statement that, in fact, a Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet collided in midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter while on approach to runway 33 at Reagan Washington Airport, 9 p.m. local time. And this was operating as Flight 5342. For American leaving Wichita, Kansas, inbound to Reagan Airport. And obviously, according to the FAA, both the FAA and NTSB will investigate. The priority at this moment is saving lives and getting as many assets as possible out there onto the river, whether that's DC Fire and Rescue, Arlington, Alexandria, whoever is available, whoever has rescue boats available, get them in the water as fast as possible. And this harkens back, in my mind, I would tell you, Rachel, back to the early 80s when we had a plane go down in the Potomac River. And it was a plane that literally had left Reagan Airport, and it was at the time called National Airport, had not been properly de-iced. It hit the bridge and went into the river and killed an awful lot of people. I'd have to go back and look at how many. But since then, that was one of the many reasons that de-icing equipment became standard on planes. Nonetheless, we haven't had any sort of an accident like this at Reagan Airport since then, since the early 80s. This is extremely serious.
Tom, I want to put up something on screen here that I've just been told. I have not seen this. We're going to be showing to our viewers and seeing it here for the first time. This is from EarthCam. It's some footage that may show the actual collision. Let's just watch here and see what we can see. Again, we're seeing this as you are. Oh, yes. The crash there in the center of your screen, sort of toward the right. Again, what the FAA is saying that we are seeing here is the midair collision of a Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet. It was American Airlines Flight 5342 from Wichita to Washington, D.C., colliding midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter as the plane was on approach to land at runway 33 at Reagan Washington National Airport. We've got the FAA and NTSB investigating, the NTSB leading the investigation. We've got what appears to be a rescue effort underway with these aircraft and their passengers potentially being in the icy Potomac River right now, and that rescue operation being not only massive but incredibly urgent, in part because of the freezing temperatures both in that water and just generally in Washington, D.C. right now. Tom, looking at this footage from EarthCam, can you tell anything more? Can you say anything to our viewers in terms of how to interpret what they're seeing here?
Boy, I really can't, Rachel. And I'm looking at it with you, and you know, all I can really discern from that is that there was some sort of clearly an explosion from a midair midair contact, hitting each other. Now, it looks to me like it's a smaller vehicle, a smaller craft that comes from behind and hits the bigger one. But boy, that's very speculative at this point. That shot is taken from such a long way away, and you can see there are other planes, other air traffic in the air as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing that catches your attention first is a plane that's not involved in the collision that appears to be taking off in the foreground. You see there, that's the thing that's brightest. But then below it is where you see two smaller lights effectively come together. They're at a relatively low altitude compared to the other things you can see. You've got a little context there in terms of the bridge traffic over the Potomac, and then they go down. It's just very distressing to see this. Tom, can I also ask you, you talked about the scale of the response and the different agencies that you would expect in terms of fire, police, EMS, and rescue that'd be responding from surrounding communities. If this is a military copter, would you also expect that the U.S. military might be involved in some of these initial rescue efforts, if this is their personnel, if these were their pilots?
I would imagine that any military assets that are nearby would immediately respond, especially from that helicopter base that's so close right across the river. Listen, this city has no shortage, as you know, of police agencies, and this is going to be an all-hands-on-deck emergency. The priority is to let's hope there are survivors, get people out of this icy water as fast as possible. But if it's in the middle of the river, that really is, and of course the river is moving. They need to try to get that. Whatever vehicle, whichever plane or chopper, if there's any craft that has the potential for having people inside, they've got to move fast.
Yeah. Let's reset and let people know what they're looking at here. This is live footage that you're seeing here with the red and blue lights flashing. This is obviously a large emergency response for what appears to be a major emergency at D.C. National Airport, Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. That airport is shut down. The airfield is closed. All runways are closed at Reagan National Airport. American Airlines Flight 5342. It was operated by PSA Airlines, but it was operating as American Airlines Flight 5342, taking off from Wichita, intending to land at Reagan Washington National Airport around 9 p.m. It was approaching runway 33, according to a preliminary statement from the FAA. And it collided, according to the FAA, in midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter. The geography of Reagan National Airport is such that collision upon approach to that runway appears to have put both of those aircraft into the very icy Potomac River. And we are seeing a massive scale rescue operation underway right there. We do not know the number of people who are on board that helicopter. We don't know what that helicopter was associated with. Obviously, Sikorsky Black Hawk style helicopters are associated with the U.S. military, but they're used for all different types of government transportation. That regional jet, as Tom Costello just explained, categorically, typically would be a jet that could hold 50 to 100 people. We have no idea at this point how many people were on board that plane, but it was, again, American Airlines Flight 5342 flying from Wichita to Washington, D.C., Reagan National Airport. That's what we know. We'll provide you continuing information as we learn it. We're watching these rescue operations underway live.